Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. And today marks the start of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life. This is round 11 and today is day 1. And we have a gorgeous sketch which I've popped in the top right hand corner there from Jessie Brodmerkle. So I'm using this sketch to document 4 photos from our last trip to CHA, the Creativation show in Phoenix back in 2020, and it's pictures of Amy Town with her range of that year, Picnic in the Park, Paige Taylor Evans with Bloom Street, Shamel with Never Grow Up, and then a picture of the entrance to the convention centre. So I just wanted to choose 4 photos that went really well together, and this is a great memory to document because of course the world changed after that January. So I'm using Vicki Boutin's print shop. I wanted to represent Vicki there because we didn't have a photo of her. I'm not quite sure why, because we did see her at the show. So I'm just I've matted the 4 photos onto white cardstock just to get that border around them and distress the edges, and now I'm matting them onto this scrap of black and white paper. Now this collection I've got absolutely loads left of. I've got the 12 by 12 paper pad, and I have most, if not all, of the embellishments as well. So it's going to take me a little while to get through it, but I adore it. It's a brilliant generic collection. It's not got any themes at all, and that really does suit me to the ground. The colours are perfect as well, with all the blues and reds and mustards. So I've taken this floral paper to create the borders down the left and right hand side of the sketch. You can see that Jessie has added some rainbow type shapes on hers. I've chosen not to do that. I'm just using this blue paper first of all to use the floral, and then I'm also going to use the stripy side on the reverse for the second piece that you can see there in the sketch. So just layering those up. As you can see, I've torn the edges because I really like that look, and then I'm going to add a very thin strip in the middle. I'm trying it out on the right hand side, but I definitely want another torn piece there. So this will be added to the middle where there's a line going down the centre of the sketch with the title sitting on it. And at first I think I'm going to use that JD3DPrint woodword that says travel, but in fact I do switch that out once I start going through the ephemera. So here I am tearing that piece for the right hand side now as well. And once I've got these positioned, I can start layering up and creating my embellishments around the photo. And you can see from the sketch, Jessie has got a large cluster bottom left-hand corner with her title going up that vertical line. So I shall be copying that. I'm trying to keep as close to the sketch as possible on this one. So I'm just adding another strip to that central line. I just felt that the one in the blue was a little bit too blocky, so I just wanted to soften it with a second strip. So again, bringing in that black and white that I've used to mat the photos. Because that mat is going to be raised up onto various bits of layering, they're not going to be touching at the end. So this is the new title that I chose. I wanted travel at first, but then as soon as I saw these words in the ephemera pack, I thought, yep, that's perfect. So my title is now Good Times, because it really was good times. We hadn't realised at the time, although we had an inkling that this was the last show that we were going to. They've just got smaller and smaller over the years, and the cost to get out to America each year from the UK is staggering, really, and it's so close after Christmas. All the new releases coming out sooner and sooner before the show even, so it was quite a strain to carry on working and do the show as well. So we've more or less decided that we weren't going, but it was an absolutely wonderful time. We couldn't get decent flights over directly to Phoenix, which is where the show was. So in the end, we decided to fly to Vegas, which is where we stayed for the week. And then we flew into Phoenix for the show, just for the day. And it was wonderful. Had dinner out with our friends from American Crafts before getting a late flight back to Vegas. So anyway, you can see I'm just starting to layer things up. I don't tend to use florals as a rule, but this is the second layout of late where I have used florals, partly because the sketch called for them and partly to get them used up. And I think they just go so well with the girls in the photo and their collections. So that's why I wanted to bring these pieces in. So I'm just going to glue down these strips now, just so that I can get a clear view of exactly where all these ephemera pieces are going. Things move about when you're positioning things before they're glued down, so I just want to make sure that everything's stuck down and I can see exactly what space I've got to play with. So those two down to the left-hand side, and I'm still playing about as I go before I stick down the piece on the right-hand side. Here we go. I'm so easily distracted, it's ridiculous. So just getting this piece glued down, and you can see I've pulled out one of the 49 and Market, what are they called? Film strip pieces in the top right-hand corner there, which will be added soon. But I love all of these layering pieces from the Papier pack. That's one of them that I've got there. And you can see I've used a chunk of it on a previous layout, but it still works really nicely on here. And I've kept the two bits that I've cut out off the bottom because it was a bit too long, and I'm sure that they'll make it onto another layout in the future. I do like all these little bits and pieces that you can just add, and they just create interest to your layout. So sticking these two bits down the middle now, I will use my T-square ruler just to make sure that everything's straight. It's quite important that these two verticals are straight. So there we go, and it's not. So it's just as well I brought that ruler in. And you can see that paper is ever so slightly shorter than 12 inches. The paper pads from the print shop collection are just ever so slightly smaller than 12 by 12. It doesn't bother me at all, but it's something of note if it's something that you want to buy. They are 12 inches wide, just not quite 12 inches tall. It's only a very small amount, but obviously it does make a bit of a difference. So now getting that title stuck down, and I'm just going to take it slightly off the edge of the page, and I'll trim those edges off, just so I can get the T right down towards the bottom. I think the balance on that is better with it that way. And now I can start building here. So coming back in with the pieces that I pulled out before, and just making sure that I get them positioned where I want them before I start gluing. And some of these I'll raise up onto foam pads just to create a little bit of dimension and interest. I do love those big leaves. I think if I'm going to use florals, these are the types that I do enjoy, these really big structural pieces. And I'm just pulling the ephemera pieces out to the left hand side there with that Papier paper piece, just so that I can have my journaling underneath there. There's no space for journaling on the sketch, so I've chosen to have mine in that bottom left quadrant. Just adding a Flair badge from Hey Little Magpie there that says "What a Day." It's the right green and looks really nice there. And now I'm just playing about with some of these washi stickers. I love these ink splats, and it's nice to bring some of the black in because we've got black in the photos on the boards behind Shamel and Amy, and also on that Good Times title. So continuing to play with all the ephemera pieces. I love this little die cut paper clip in the red with this written on top. It just brings that red up to the top and finishes that little cluster up there quite nicely. So now I'm happy with the positioning of everything. I'm just starting to glue down the photos, and then I can carry on with all the florals and things. And I'm going to add some different textures to create dimension, and I absolutely adore how this layout turned out in the end. So just layering up those florals for the final time. I feel like I take things off, put them back, take them off, put them back, but I get there eventually. And it's really nice having the different textures of that thin paper piece that I've just put down there, and these washi stickers, and all the different stuff. So I'm going to bring in some other textures, as I say, as well. But first of all, just gluing this first layer down, just using my wet glue, and gluing all the florals. And like I said, I will bring in some foam as well, just making sure that this paper piece is straight before adding some glue behind it. And I don't need everything to be stuck. Just a little bit of glue, enough to hold it in place, is fine by me because it creates movement on the page as well. So the bottom layer will be stuck down flat, and then this yellow flower is going to be popped up onto some foam. This is the Sticks 2 foam pads. They come on a roll and they're absolutely fantastic. This is the narrower pieces. You'll have seen me using the 25mm pieces plenty of times, but this is the thin strips, and they're pre-cut for you, so easier to use than the solid roll somehow. So just ruffling up the edges of those leaves just to create a bit more dimension, and then I can stick down my washi tape stickers. So just peeling off the backing. And I love how these are semi-translucent, so you do see that notepaper, the graph on the notepaper through them. So that one down first, and then just checking there aren't any paper pieces from all the distressing, and then coming in with these ink splotches. So one underneath that leaf to bring that black round there. And then I'm still playing with these Flair badges, but I decided to go with this What a Day one. And I'm just about to pop it down, and then I think actually I'm going to add some thread underneath it. So just grab my green thread. This is something that I see Missy Wooden doing an awful lot, and it creates another texture, and it's great when you've got a cluster of florals like this. So just adding that underneath that Flair badge and tucking the Flair badge underneath the petals of that flower, just so that it becomes one with the embellishments there. And this is one of those offcuts that I was saying about that I can't bear to let go of. So this was cut from the note paper that's used as a layering mat behind the photos, and there was just this little piece left over. So adding that to the bottom there. And now going through the ephemera again to see what else I can find. Another ink splatter, so just working out where that's going to go. And this again is another piece that I've trimmed off a previous layout, a little black bracket that works really nicely up at the top there. It was cut on an angle, but I'm just sticking it straight at the top there. And then I remember this film strip frame. So deciding where to put it. At first I think I want to put it in that bottom right hand corner, then I try this corner, but in the end it becomes a part of that vertical strip straight down. So just cutting it in half. I'll save the other half for another day, and nestling that under the layers. And just using my wet glue to stick that down. And I really like that that brings the navy up to the top there. So just working in another Flair badge. This is another one from Hey Little Magpie. Different colour green, and it's just tying everything nicely together. And then just adding some more layers around the photos. So I love this ruler. These are great for adding a little bit of detail and bringing in a different colour. So just going to rip off the top so that it doesn't go too far up, and then I'll glue that down. And you'll see I cut it in half because I can use the other half. One side, it's like a traditional ruler with one side centimetres, one side inches. But as you can see, it just adds something there. So now coming in with this yellow ticket, and you may have noticed I moved that ink splotch that I had up there. It's actually gone down to the bottom of the page next to the Good Times title. So bringing in this yellow ticket here, and as you will have seen quite often when I use half of something on one side, I tend to, if it's vertical, I'll bring it in horizontally on the other side, and that's what I'm going to do with this. At first I think I'm going to have it vertically, but then I move it so that it's horizontally, and I just like the balance that that creates. So now coming in with my journaling, and the journaling simply reads, quite possibly our favourite CHA trip. We stayed in Las Vegas and flew to the show in Phoenix for the first day only, catching a flight back to Vegas after a wonderful Italian meal out with our friends at American Crafts, who knew it was just around the corner. So we're very grateful for these memories. So finally, I'm going to come in with some gold splatters using my Heidi Swap Colour Shine. And that's just about it for this layout. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do check the description box down below, the playlist of everybody else who's joined in on this lovely hop. I'm hoping to do every day, or more or less every day. So I shall see you again tomorrow for the next sketch. Thanks again. Bye.